Hi friends, welcome to my channel. This is actually my first video on this channel, and today I wanted to share with you everything that I have colored in June 2021. Now, I know sometimes people do these videos and they've colored like 50 pages in a month, 40 pages in a month. My goal every month is 8 pages, which is 2 a week. I think I've done a few more than that this month, but generally that's my goal. 2 a week is my goal. I do work full-time and also have a separate part-time job. So because of that, I stay pretty busy and I just have little snippets of time in which to color, and some of my pieces take many hours. And so I would rather kind of put in the time and effort to having something exactly the way that I want it than focus more on mass. So for me, my goal is always 8 pages. And like I said, I think I've done a few more than that this month. So the first thing that I will show you is actually a double page spread in this book. This is Amalians Wonderland. And I have had this book for quite some time. It was one of my first coloring books, and I have actually been working on this page for probably almost 2 years. I had gotten to a point where I had sort of ruined these mushrooms, and then I gave up on the page, and there was very little that was left to do. It was mostly just like the foliage on this side, and I just kind of abandoned it. But I do love it. I think it's such a beautiful piece, and so I finally, whipping the whips, came in and finished this one up, and I could not be more pleased. This was colored entirely with polychromos, but there are some Posca pen highlights kind of here and there. The antlers are ivory Posca, the spots are white Posca, as well as these little flowers over here are also with white Posca. This was many layers over many days, but I'm so pleased with it. I really love this book. There's a lot of things in this book that I just think are so truly lovely. I have quite a few works in progress, as well as quite a few small victories in this book as well. Little sweets and things like that that I have covered. But for this month, the thing that I did in this book was that double page spread. Then I have this little book. This is Escape to Oz, and this is a recent purchase for me, and I actually used my new Derwent ink tints on this book. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about ink tints in this book, actually. I had originally thought, because there's so many beautiful rich greens, that I might do ink tints in this book exclusively, but as you may be able to see here, the page did buckle quite badly, and I think this is going to be like really hard to color on the other side. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going with the ink tints or not, but I was relatively pleased with how this turned out. I'm not sure if this is undissolved pigment in the pencil, or if this is like the grain of the paper popping through, but I did get a lot of this kind of speckled grittiness, which, because this was a dirt path, I was okay with that, but I wouldn't want that cropping up in other works. So I think, ink tints are new to me, and there is a little bit of a learning curve, so I will keep going and trying to hone my skills, but that's what I did this month. I also this month purchased a new EcoTank printer, and I printed this off of Johanna Basford's Happy Place, which is a little free PDF digital download section on her website. I thought this was just such a sweet picture. This is from World of Flowers, and this is done with polychromos predominantly, and then of course just a little bit of Posca pen in there as well for some highlights. I was really pleased with how this turned out. I'm going to be doing Ivy and the Inky Butterfly from cover to cover, from the beginning to the end, hopefully in order. And so I really wanted to sort of try out some of these flower shapes and things like that, as well as this little butterfly. I love how that little butterfly has turned out. I did also pick up this teeny tiny book, which I might just hold because it's really so little. This is a little postcard book, and I actually got this at the gift shop when I got vaccinated at the hospital. as a little treat for myself, and I colored this kind of cherry print. This is like really lovely heavy card, and this is done, the background, the cherries, everything is done with polychromos, but there is white Posca pen. I was kind of trying to make those look really three-dimensional and rounded, have them pop, so hopefully you can see that. Then I have, of course, Worlds Within Worlds. I love this book so much. I have only done one thing in here, and it is this Akenda. I have named this Akenda Kate, and I absolutely love her. I think she is just the sweetest thing. Now, I don't use a lot of Prismacolor. I have a really hard time getting Prismacolor to work for me, especially for fine details. And I have the full 120 of the polychromos, but I just have kind of a couple of small sets, a small assortment of Prismacolor. I just decided that I was going to try it. I was going to tackle it. So everything is Prismacolor except for the spines and the highlights. Again, those are ivory and white Posca pen. I was especially pleased with how these rocks at the bottom came out. I really liked how this mountain range came out. I was happy with these kind of tall cacti and sort of this area on the Akenda. And then, you know, I felt like her face, you know, maybe I could have done a better job. But by the time that I kind of got here, I had put so many layers on the paper that it just wasn't holding more. The background is just a single color of Prismacolor pencil, and I blended it out with a colorless alcohol marker, also from Prismacolor. And so this is how I have done this one. This took a lot of time. Kirby adds all of these like beautiful teeny tiny details. I did also have a failed gel pen experiment here on the crown, which is a shame, but I think it just kind of blends in and you don't notice it as a mistake too much unless I point it out. So yeah, that's my little Akenda in Worlds Within Worlds. Now I do have another Kirby Roseanne's book, and I have done a double page spread and an individual page, so I've done 3 pages total in this book. I have really been loving this book. I got this book just this month, actually. I saw it on offer at Target, and I just went ahead and picked it up. By the time that we got to this book, I lost my fancy paper flags, so just excuse my unprofessional printer paper. So this is the second picture, actually, that I did in this book. This is the double page spread of the pandas. I did all of the background in 3 shades of red from Polychromos. I did all of the bamboo in 3 shades of red, 3 shades of green, excuse me, also from Polychromos. I pulled a couple of pinks just for the accents on the face here, and I've done the eyes in blue, but I have left the pandas untouched. I let Kirby's beautiful line work show. I was worried that it would look half finished or unfinished, and I don't think that it does. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Colored pencil backgrounds, as you know, take an inordinately long amount of time, and every time that I do a colored pencil background, especially on a big spread like this, and this also had a lot of little details, every time that I do that I say never ever again, but then I'm so pleased with the result that I do end up doing it again. So I said never again when I finished this, but I would love to recreate this again. There are some places where my shadowing is very harsh, especially like this area, and I would really like to try this technique again on a different page. Now, the next thing in this book is the Sumatran tiger. This was done entirely with Crayola watercolors. I bought just a little pan of, you know, cheapy, made for kids Crayola watercolors. I had never forayed into watercolors before, but I was really excited to give this a try. I really wanted to see if I could kind of recreate this tiger that's on the back cover, and I actually like this so much that I want to do this with more pages in this book. The sea turtle, for example. So yeah, I just did this gorgeous kind of rainbow tiger. This is my Pride Month nod. And I did all of this forefront foliage also in watercolor, all of these butterflies in watercolor. The background is the softest, softest lilac that you've ever seen. And that's also watercolor. I did a few different layers to kind of get that splodgy sky effect. The only thing on this that is not watercolor are these little bits of grass that are kind of in the background. And those are Crayola colored pencil. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Crayola or will point out that it's not an artist grade pencil. And that's true. I've been coloring since 2018. My first set of pencils was the Crayola set of pencils. And so I really got my start with them, and I still really love them. And they have a lot of colors in their range that I can't find in other ranges. So I do still use them quite a bit. And this was a bit of a challenge for myself to do a picture entirely in Crayola. And I mean, these colors just on, you know, pan, kid-friendly watercolor, the brightness and the vibrancy of this image. I am so incredibly happy with it. And I would like to do this again on more pages in this book. So that's Fragile World. Now the last thing that I have is this little book. You can see here I got it on offer at Dollar General quite some time ago. This is Zen Patterns and Designs, Coloring for Everyone. And this is a very different page than anything that I normally do. So this is the page. Let me see if I can kind of move it so you can see all of the metallic gel pen. I don't often color in marker. I don't often use gel pens. I do use my Posca paint pens, as I've mentioned a couple of times, but I don't generally use marker. I was inspired to complete this page because I purchased this little set of Brunswick brush markers. These are kind of the curated limited editions that they did for different cities around the world. And this was the New York edition. And because I live in New York City, I really wanted this little set of markers. They were terribly inexpensive. I think I paid like $6 or $7 for these. And I decided that I wanted to give them a go. So I colored this page. It was a bit of a process. Originally, it looked very kind of muddy and muted. And then once I added this gel pen in, it just, everything popped. It separated all of those colors. It lost the muddy look. And I was sort of going for an effect like a stained glass window. So this is what I have done. And I've, like I said, I've colored it in this Zen Patterns and Design book. So this is a little nod to our Asian American community here in New York who is experiencing a lot of adversity at the moment. Now, I pulled out this book actually because I wanted to color another page, which I didn't mark, so I may not be able to find. There was a page of Sakura Blossoms. Here it is. And this was originally the page that I was going to color. But what I found out is that this paper, it's quite thin, as you may be able to see. You can see all the way through it. And it really hates pencil, which is unfortunate because I predominantly use pencil. It really does not get along with pencil. And so I kind of switched from this page that I'm now going to have to try to figure out how to salvage because it's literally just, the pencil is just eaten up the paper. So I switched from this picture over to this one. And since they are single-sided and since the paper is quite thin, I had hoped that markers would perform better. If you haven't seen these Brunswick pens yet, these brush markers, let me show you. So they're kind of like, they're double-ended like this. This end is a brush tip. And then there's a tiny, tiny, tiny little nib on this end. And so I thought this would be great for kind of getting in all of these little detailed areas. The problem is with this paper, this is not an issue with the pens. It's just this paper. This plastic nib also just chews up the paper and you can't get even coverage. So what I had to do then was come in these teeny tiny itty bitty little details and use this brush marker to kind of fill them in because there just was no other way to not chew up the paper. This is kind of a shame because there is another book in this line. This is Zen Patterns and Designs, Coloring for Everyone. And there is also a Coloring for Artists version of this book. It's pictured here on the back. And I would have gotten it. I am Japanese American, and so I do kind of love a lot of the motifs and designs in this book. But I don't know if I'm going to be doing much more in this book because it doesn't like pencils and it doesn't like markers. and it doesn't like pens. And so I'm not super sure what else is left. But, you know, we'll see. I may keep going with that. So yes, this is everything that I have covered in the month of June. Once again, welcome to the new channel. I will be uploading a video here in the next day or so that shows everything that's in my coloring bag for July. And in July, I'm going to be coloring on a theme, and I will announce that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.